My wife cheated with our close family friend, and now she's claiming I owe her $250, $0 in divorce settlement for emotional damages, but I just found out she secretly borrowed $50, $0 from her sister last year and hid it from me. I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but here I am, typing this out because I need to get it off my chest. Honestly, the whole thing feels like a bad soap opera, but it's real life, and it's turned my world upside down. It all started with little things: missed calls, late nights, strange texts. You know how it is when you start noticing your wife acting weird. She's always been a bit bitchy, quick to dismiss anything that didn't suit her, but lately she was outright hostile for no reason. I'd ask her what's wrong, and she'd brush me off, accuse me of overreacting or being paranoid, which, honestly, made me even more suspicious. It wasn't until I saw her phone light up one night while she was in the shower that I got the first real hint something was off. I wasn't snooping, just happened to glance over, and there was a message from someone named Jake. No last name, just that. I froze. My heart started pounding. I didn't recognize the number, but I knew that name. Jake was a family friend, someone we'd all known for years. Why would be texting him at 11 p.m.? That was suspicious enough, but what really threw me was the tone of the messages. Flirty, intimate, like they shared some secret language. I read a few lines and my stomach sank. There were mentions of meeting up, of keeping it secret, and even some talk about how much she missed him. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I spent the next few days watching her, noticing little things. Her phone kept ringing at odd hours. She was more secretive about her whereabouts, and she seemed more tense than usual. I found myself second-guessing everything. We'd been together for over 10 years. I thought I knew her. Turns out I didn't know her at all. The worst part: she started acting even more bitchy and dismissive, like she was trying to push me away, maybe to prepare for some big reveal I wasn't ready for. I kept telling myself I was paranoid, but deep down I knew something was wrong. Then one night I decided to check her phone again just to be sure. I knew I shouldn't have, but I couldn't help it. I saw more than I bargained for. There were explicit messages, texts about how much she loved sex with him, how she enjoyed sneaking around, even plans for a secret rendezvous. It was like my wife had been living a double life right under my nose. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. How could she do this? How could she betray not just me but our entire family like that? I was furious, but mostly I just felt broken. It was as if I'd been hit with a wrecking ball, and suddenly everything I thought I knew about my marriage was a lie. I confronted her the next morning. I was shaking, my voice hoarse. I told her I knew about Jake, about the messages, about her sneaking around behind my back. Her reaction was classic: denial, blame shifting, outright lying. She told me I was paranoid, that I was overreacting, that I was imagining things. She spun these elaborate stories about how she was stressed, how it was just a mistake, that she loved me and would never do anything to hurt me, but I didn't buy it. I saw the guilt in her eyes, the way she avoided my gaze, the way she refused to answer my questions directly. The more she lied, the more I realized I'd been blind for years. The emotional toll hit me hard. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry all at once. How could she do this to me, to us? I started questioning everything: our memories, her promises, her love. I'd always thought we had a solid marriage, but now I saw cracks everywhere. I felt like a fool for trusting her, for thinking we had something real. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. The betrayal cut so deep I wondered if I'd ever be able to trust anyone again. All I wanted was the truth, and now that I had it, I didn't know what to do with it. I just knew I had to figure out my next move, because this wasn't going to end quietly. After that confrontation, things didn't suddenly get better. If anything, they got worse. His attitude shifted from defensive to outright hostile. She started throwing around accusations like I was the one cheating, claiming I was paranoid and insecure. She insisted that her relationship with Jake was nothing more than harmless friendship, which honestly made me laugh bitterly. I knew better. I had seen the messages, the intimate talk, the late-night meetups she never told me about. But she kept denying everything, calling me jealous, insecure, controlling. It was classic gaslighting, and it made my blood boil. I knew I couldn't just sit around waiting for her to admit the truth. I had to dig deeper. I started looking into her financials, something I should have done long ago. Turns out had been hiding money from me for years. Last year, she secretly borrowed $50, $0 from her sister, Lisa, and kept it under wraps. She told Lisa it was for some emergency, but she never paid her back and I had no idea. That was a huge red flag, but I was too blind to see it at the time. Now it all clicked into place. She'd been lying about her finances, hiding debts, and probably using that money to fund her secret life with Jake. When I confronted her, with that, her face went pale. She tried to deny everything, but I had proof, bank statements, texts, and even a voicemail where Lisa explicitly told me had borrowed the money. The excuse was that she needed the cash for some vague business opportunity, but I didn't buy it. She was just covering her tracks. All these years, she'd been manipulating me financially, hiding debts, and now I was realizing she'd been living a lie, not just emotionally, but in every aspect of our lives. That's when I decided I'd had enough. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I told her I wanted a divorce, but she started throwing a fit. She claimed I owed her $250, $0 in emotional damages, saying I'd ruined her life with my accusations. It was so absurd I almost laughed. She's always been the kind of woman who exaggerates, plays the victim, and blames everyone else for her problems. Now she's trying to turn the tables, demanding money for her pain. But I knew her game. She's been feeding off me emotionally and financially for years, and now she wants to squeeze me dry. She started throwing around legal threats, saying she'd sue me for everything I had if I went through with the divorce. I was stunned. She's always been bitchy, manipulative, and entitled, but now she was threatening to drag me through hell just to get her way. I've never been a confrontational guy, but this was different. I was furious at her betrayal, furious at myself for not seeing it sooner, and furious at her audacity to ask for money after everything she's done. I realized I had to fight back, not just for myself but for the truth. I started gathering everything: texts, bank statements, her sister's confession, anything that could prove her deception. I knew this was going to get ugly, but I couldn't let her walk all over me. The emotional toll was enormous. I'd always prided myself on being a stable, reliable husband, and now I felt like a sucker. I'd trusted her with my life, and she'd been sneaking around, lying, stealing money, all while pretending she was the perfect wife. It hurt more than I can put into words. Yet beneath all that anger, I felt a strange sense of clarity. I knew I had to stand my ground, confront her lies head-on, and do whatever it takes to set things straight. I started planning my next move, consulting a lawyer, figuring out how to protect myself financially, and preparing for a showdown. I knew wasn't going to go quietly. She's always been bitchy, spoiled, and manipulative, and now she was desperate. I wasn't about to let her manipulate me anymore. I just hope I can get through this without completely losing myself. Because right now, I feel like I'm caught in a nightmare I can't wake up from. The more I dug into her financial mess, the angrier I got. It was one thing to find out she'd been sneaking around with Jake, but discovering she'd hidden a $50, $0 loan from her sister just pushed everything over the edge. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. She'd always played the victim, acted like she was the one suffering, but this was just another layer of her manipulation. She lied about everything: her finances, her fidelity, her intentions. And now she was trying to play the emotional damage card, claiming I owed her $250, $0 in some twisted divorce settlement for emotional damages. Honestly, that made me sick. I sat her down. One night, the house dead silent except for her bitchy comments and her trying to spin her stories. I kept my voice steady, calm, at least on the outside. I told her I knew she borrowed the money from Lisa and that I had proof. Her reaction was priceless. She froze for a second, then started flailing her arms, denying everything, claiming Lisa was lying, that she had no idea about the loan, that it was all a misunderstanding. Of course, I had the bank statements and her sister's voicemail, but she refused to admit it. She told me I was crazy, that I was paranoid, and that I was ruining everything because I didn't trust her. Her lies kept coming, and I couldn't take it anymore. I told her I was done playing her game. I was going to protect myself and make sure she paid for her betrayal. That's when I decided I needed to get serious. I contacted a lawyer, someone who knew the ins and outs of divorce law and financial deception. I explained everything, the affair, the secret borrowing, her manipulative threats, and they told me I had a strong case. I also started gathering all the evidence I could find: texts, emails, bank records, her sister's confession. I knew she was planning to play the victim, but I wasn't going to let her get away with it. She tried to turn the tables, claiming I was the one cheating, that I'd been unfaithful all along. That was rich coming from her. I just looked at her and said, "You want to throw accusations? Fine. But I've got proof of your lies. You've betrayed me in every way possible, and I'm done." I could see her eyes flicker with anger and frustration. She knew she was cornered. That's when she started saying she'd expose me, threaten me with some fabricated stories about how I was the one who'd been unfaithful, just to try and save herself. But I wasn't falling for it. The emotional toll was overwhelming. I felt like I was losing my mind. I'd trusted her for so long, and now I saw her for what she truly was: a manipulative, selfish woman who'd do anything to keep her lies intact. It hurt to realize I'd spent years building a life with someone who was secretly tearing it apart. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I let her get away with so much. But at the same time, I knew I couldn't keep living in this nightmare. I had to take control, stand up for myself, and get out of this mess with some dignity intact. I told her I was filing for divorce, and she screamed at me, calling me names, saying I was a terrible husband, that I'd ruined her life. She claimed she was the victim, that I owed her money, that I'd betrayed her first. Honestly, it was almost laughable. I'd never seen her like this, so bitchy, so manipulative, so desperate. But I knew I had to stay strong. I told her I wasn't going to be manipulated anymore. I was tired of her lies, her games, her crying wolf every time she got caught. I promised myself I'd see this through, that I'd get justice, even if it meant tearing apart everything I thought was real. So now I'm in the process of legal action, trying to shield myself from her financial manipulations and preparing for whatever chaos she's planning next. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know one thing: I be her pawn anymore. I deserve better than this. I deserve honesty, respect, and a life free from her bitchy manipulations. It's not just about the money or the affair. It's about finally waking up and realizing I've been living with a liar. And honestly, that realization hurts more than anything. The days that followed were a whirlwind of legal consultations, sleepless nights, and a flood of conflicting emotions. Every time I thought I had a handle on things, something new would come up. Another lie, another hidden expense, another way was trying to manipulate me. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind for so long. She's always been the bitchy type, quick to blame others and spin stories, but now her true colors were flashing brighter than ever. Her accusations about me cheating, her threats to sue me for emotional damages, it was all just her way of trying to hold on to control, to make me look like the bad guy. I started digging into her recent financial activity and found more surprises. She secretly taken out a second loan, this time for another $20, $0, using a different bank account I never knew she had. She'd been funneling money into some secret account, probably to fund her escapades with Jake or to cover her mounting debts. Every new piece of evidence made me more furious. I realized she'd been lying, cheating, manipulating, and hiding from me for years. And for what? To keep her own secret life afloat while pretending to be the perfect wife. It was infuriating. Meanwhile, his attitude grew even more bitchy and dismissive. She'd throw tantrums, call me controlling, accuse me of ruining her perfect life, and claim I was the one who'd betrayed her. She'd cry, scream, and try to guilt-trip me into backing down. I saw through it all. I knew she was trying to intimidate me to make me back off from the divorce. But I wasn't having it. I told her I had enough evidence to take her to court, to expose her lies, and that I was prepared to fight for everything I deserved. I wanted her to understand that I wasn't just some naive husband anymore. I was done being played. One night, I sat her down again, this time with my lawyer on speakerphone. I laid everything out, her affair, the secret loans, her manipulations. I told her I was filing for divorce, that I had the proof to back up every claim. Her face twisted into a furious sneer, and she started yelling at me, calling me a heartless bastard, saying I was just trying to ruin her. But I didn't care. I knew I had the upper hand now. She kept insisting that I owed her something for all her emotional damages, and that I better be ready to pay up or face the consequences. That's when I realized how deep her manipulations went. She's always been the type to play the victim, to twist facts, to paint herself as the wronged party. But I wasn't going to fall for that anymore. I'd seen her true face, and I was done with the lies. I started preparing myself for the legal battle ahead, knowing it wouldn't be easy. She'd try every trick in the book to hold on to her control, but I was determined to stand my ground. I also reached out to Lisa, her sister, who confirmed everything about the $50, $0 loan and her own suspicions about financial dishonesty. Lisa was furious, telling me she'd been worried about spending habits for years but never knew how deep it went. She said she'd testify if needed, which was a huge relief. I realized I wasn't alone in this. There were people who saw through's act and were willing to help me expose her. That gave me some strength, knowing I wasn't fighting this battle on my own. Now I'm just waiting for the next move. Been trying to manipulate the situation, claiming she'll expose me or fight back, but I've got everything documented. I'm tired of her bitchy attitude and her constant lies. I want this over with, to start rebuilding my life without her constant drama. I've learned a lot. Trust is fragile, and some people will go to any lengths to hide their true selves. I don't regret uncovering the truth, even if it's painful, because now I know exactly what I'm dealing with and I'm ready to fight for what's right. The legal process has moved faster than I expected, and honestly, it's been every day I wake up feeling like I'm in some kind of nightmare I can't wake up from, but at the same time, I feel a strange sense of relief. I've finally taken control of the situation, and I'm not about to let manipulate her way out of this. The more she tried to deny, spin stories, or threaten me, the more evidence I gathered. It's like every lie she told added weight against her in court. She's still being a bitchy, manipulative nightmare, though. She calls me names, accuses me of being a terrible husband, and claims I'm trying to ruin her life. She's even gone so far as to threaten me with some fabricated divorce damages, claims saying I owe her $250, $0 because of emotional trauma. That one made me laugh bitterly. She's always been the type to blow things out of proportion, to play the victim, and now she's using her tears and her fake sob stories to try and sway the judge. But I've got enough proof: texts, bank statements, her sister's testimony, and I know I can fight her every step of the way. Meanwhile, I've been working with my lawyer to prepare the paperwork. I want full transparency, no more secrets, no more hidden debts or secret accounts. I've demanded an audit of all her finances, and I've made it clear that I want her to be held accountable for every penny she's stolen or hidden. I also filed for full custody of the kids, knowing's bitchy attitude and manipulative nature wouldn't be good for them. I want to protect what's left of my family, even if it means losing her altogether. The emotional toll is still there. Sometimes I feel numb, other times I get flashes of anger so intense I want to scream. I keep thinking back to the good times, vacations, holidays, her smile, and then I remember the lies, the betrayal, the way she used me. It's hard to accept that the woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, was just pretending all along. But I remind myself, I deserve better. I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who doesn't manipulate and lie to me. That's what keeps me going, even on the worst days. I also reached out to a few friends who know me for years. They've been surprisingly supportive, telling me I did the right thing by exposing her, that I shouldn't feel guilty or ashamed. That's been a huge help. Sometimes it's easy to doubt yourself when you're caught in the middle of such chaos, but their words remind me I'm not crazy and I'm not overreacting. I've been betrayed in ways I never imagined, but I'm standing tall now. I've learned that sometimes the only way to move forward is to confront the truth head-on, no matter how painful it is. As I write this, I feel a strange mix of exhaustion and hope. Exhaustion from the constant stress, but hope that this is finally nearing the end. I want to put this behind me, start fresh, rebuild my life, and leave bitchy manipulations in the past. I've come to realize that some people are just fundamentally dishonest, and no matter how much you love them or try to fix things, they'll keep hurting you if you let them. So I'm determined to see this through, to make sure she pays for her lies and her betrayal. I don't want her to get away with it. I want to reclaim what's mine: dignity, my peace, and my future. I've learned a lot about trust, manipulation, and resilience from this nightmare, and if there's one thing I can say, don't ignore the signs. Trust your instincts, keep your eyes open, and don't be afraid to fight back when you're being played. Because in the end, the truth always comes out. Now that everything is finally coming to a head, I can honestly say I feel a strange mix of relief and exhaustion. The court hearings are scheduled, and I've done everything I can to present my case clearly: proof of her affair, the secret loans, her manipulative threats, and her financial dishonesty. Is still trying to play the victim, still bitching and crying about how unfair everything is, but I've learned to tune her out. I know her game now. She's been doing this for years, lying, cheating, stealing money, and then turning around to blame everyone else when it all blows up in her face. Looking back, I realize how much I overlooked, how many warning signs I dismissed, how many times I made excuses for her bitchiness or her manipulations. I thought I was protecting my family, maintaining the peace, but all I was doing was enabling her to keep her secrets and her lies. I won't make that mistake again. I've learned that honesty, no matter how painful, is always better than living in a lie. And I've learned that some people are just fundamentally dishonest, and you have to protect yourself from them. As I write this, I'm finally starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. The legal process has been a nightmare, but I'm confident that I'll get through it with my dignity intact. I've taken back control of my life, my finances, and my future. The emotional scars will probably stay with me for a while, but I refuse to let them define me. I've been betrayed in ways I never thought possible, but I've also grown stronger. I've learned that resilience isn't just about surviving. It's about fighting for yourself and never letting someone else's betrayal destroy what little sense of stability you have left. I want to tell anyone reading this who might be going through something similar: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the red flags. And if you find yourself in a situation where someone is lying, manipulating, or cheating, fight for what's right. You deserve honesty, respect, and peace. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for uncovering the truth or standing up for yourself, because at the end of the day, the truth will set you free. And I'm finally starting to believe that I'll be okay. Better than okay, I'll be stronger. This experience has been brutal, but it's also been a wake-up call. Life is unpredictable, and sometimes people surprise you in the worst ways. But I've learned that I am capable of handling it, of rising above the betrayal and moving forward. I've closed that chapter of my life, and I'm ready to start fresh. No more lies, no more bitchy manipulations, just honesty, integrity, and the hope for a better future. That's what I owe myself now. That's what I'll always remember.